Hello and welcome to Awaz News. I'm Sumana Kutoni and I'll be taking you through big news across Canada. Ford names new cabinet with Jones as health minister and a role for his nephew. United States Supreme Court overturns the protection for abortion set out. Commonwealth countries could learn from Canada's reconciliation effort, Prince Charles says. Trudeau calls U.S. court decision overturning Roe v. Wade horrific. Toronto launches traffic blitz with resumption of rush hour parking enforcement. TTC facing $3 million in lawsuit filed by former employees over vaccine policies. Almost 100,000 students to get break on CERB repayments. Years-long OPP investigation reveals leaked government documents. Heat warning issued for Toronto, Mississauga, and Brampton. So those were the headlines. Now let's jump right into the details. Ontario Premier Doug Ford announced his 30-person cabinet, including former Solicitor General Sylvia Jones as Deputy Premier and Health Minister, as well as a role for his nephew. Many of the cabinet ministers remain in the same portfolios they held during Ford's last government, such as Stephen Lecce in Education, Peter Battle-Falvey as Minister of Finance, and Caroline Marulani in Transportation. But several new and tweaked roles signal that some of the Ford's top priorities are housing, mining, and infrastructure. Ford said he wants to unite Ontario and that his government will represent everyone. The U.S. Supreme Court has overturned the Roe v. Wade opinion that has secured constitutional protection for abortion in the U.S. for nearly 50 years. The milestone ruling, a draft of which was leaked last month, has the potential to claw back the abortion access across the country by allowing the state to restrict or outright ban the procedure. Friday's 6-3 decision delivered by Justice Samuel Alito, with all three Liberal justices dissenting, reverses the historic 1973 Roe v. Wade decision. That original ruling found a woman's decision to terminate a pregnancy was protected by the right to privacy that flows from the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, which protects a citizen's right to life, liberty, and property. The Constitution makes no reference to abortion, and no such right is implicitly protected by any constitutional provision, Alito wrote. Canada's ongoing open painful attempts at the national reconciliation involving Indigenous and non-Indigenous communities was held as an example for other Commonwealth countries to consider as many of the 54 nations come to terms with their own past. The word of praise came from Prince Charles, the heir of the British throne, who recently toured Canada and said he came away deeply touched by those engaged in the process of reconciliation. He spoke today to the opening session of the first Commonwealth Leaders meeting in 4 years being held in Rwanda, a country which is still struggling to come to terms with the horrific genocide of the minority Tutsis in the spring and summer of 1994, an ethnically inspired bloodletting that claimed 800,000 lives. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau weighed in today on the U.S. Supreme Court's decision to overturn decade-old jurisprudence on abortion, calling what's unfolding south of the border a horrific development that threatens the right of women to choose what to do with their own bodies. My heart goes out to the millions of American women who are now set to lose their legal right to an abortion. I can't imagine the fear and the anger you are feeling right now, Trudeau said in a social media post. Trudeau said no government, politician, or a man should force a woman to carry out pregnancy, reiterating that under his Liberal government, women in Canada know that we will always stand up for your right to choose.
Today's a difficult day. The judgment coming out of the United States is an attack on women's freedom, and quite frankly, it's an attack on everyone's freedoms and rights. Let me be really, really clear. In Canada, we will always defend women's rights to choose and continue to work to expand access to the full range of reproductive and health and services across the country. But today, I think of those generations of women around the world, and specifically in the United States, who fought so hard to gain rights and continue to fight today to get more and more rights, because there's so much more work to do. and are facing this devastating setback. It shows how much standing up and fighting for rights matters every day, that we can't take anything for granted, that we need to continue to stand strong to defend everybody's rights and freedoms in Canada and where we are here internationally, standing up internationally as well, which Canada will do, whether it's fighting for women's rights here in Africa or supporting people fighting for their rights in the United States and elsewhere.
Toronto has launched a new traffic blitz to target a variety of factors impacting nasty gridlock in and around the city as major events are set to return this summer. The Keep Toronto Moving traffic campaign officially launched on Thursday and will run through Thursday, June 30th. The initiative includes two key components: enforcement effort on offenses that negatively impact traffic flow and the return of the regular rush hour parking enforcement. Throughout the next week, Dedicated Patrol will focus their effort on improving the flow of traffic and will address congestion efforts, including vehicles blocking intersection and compliance with the traffic signal. Vehicle caught blocking intersection could face a fine of $125. The Toronto Transit Commission is facing nearly $3 million worth of wrongful dismissal lawsuit filed by the former employees in conjunction with its mandatory COVID-19 vaccination policy implemented late last year. Court documents obtained show at least 4 former employees are suing the TTC of total $2.9 million, which would come to a cost of taxpayers at a time when the TTC is attempting to recover from its historically low ridership and revenue. The TTC first announced an incoming mandatory COVID-19 vaccination policy on August 19, initially requiring all employees to disclose their vaccination status by September 20th and show proof of full vaccination by October 30th. In the following weeks, those deadlines were extended a number of times, with each extension being communicated to the employee. Nearly 100,000 students asked to repay CERB benefit they claimed during the COVID-19 pandemic could soon get a break. Under an order in council adopted without and fanfare earlier this month, students will be able to deduct the amount they could have collected under the COVID-19 aid program for students from the amount of the CERB benefit they are being asked to repay. Minister of Employment, Workforce Development and Disability Inclusion said the government realized when it followed up on the benefit payment it made during the pandemic that many students who received the benefit under the Canada Emergency Response Benefit should have actually applied for a different program, the Canada Emergency Student Benefit. While the CERB program paid out benefit to the workers who had lost their jobs because of the COVID-19 pandemic, the CESB was designed to help students who were unable to find work in the first place because of the pandemic. In some cases, students have been told they have to repay thousands of dollars in the CERB repayment they received, but that was too late to apply for the student benefit. A Toronto resident is facing criminal charges after the Ontario Provincial Police said they discovered leaked government document in an investigation that began 3 years ago. In February 2019, the OPP said Ministry of Health and Long-Term Care made a request for officer to look into irregularities linked to the handling of government-related documents. 2 months later, the government provided the OPP with information related to the allegations. The information prompted an investigation spearheaded by the Criminal Investigation Branch. Following the year-long investigation, 49-year-old Christina Horonis is facing 2 offenses: breach of trust by a public officer and unauthorized use of computer. Horonis will appear in the court on July 27 at the Ontario Court of Justice in Toronto. The OPP says it will not comment on evidence-related inquiries that are before the court. Those attending Pride events and other festivals in the city this weekend should prepare for a heat event, according to the Environment Canada. The federal agency issued a heat warning for Toronto, Mississauga, and Brampton, advising of temperature highs above 30 degrees Celsius over the next 2 days. It said that maximum temperature are expected to climb to the low 30s on Saturday and Sunday, with the humidex value in the mid to high 30s. Sunny conditions are in the forecast for Saturday, while showers are expected for Sunday. Thank Thank you for tuning in. I'm Simone Cotoni, and I'll see you tomorrow, same time, same channel. Have a good night.